What is going on, guys? Lieutenant Nutcase bringing the second installment of Weapon Wednesday. This week we are looking at the AK-24, which is by far one of the most aggressive assault rifles in the game. It, for a long time, was my favourite up until I got the S-Bar setup that I showed you. So we'll delve into this video because this Kalashnikov is just such a beautiful gun. Regardless of what role you want it to fill, it will do that. And this setup that I'm going to start you through will make sure that you are getting the best of it from any range. So guys, let's take a look at the stats. With 52 firepower and 53 accuracy, this thing is a belting gun. It's a little step up from the M4A1, but not quite on par with, say, the S-Bar we looked at last week, but it makes the gun as aggressive as it is. Also has really good range, and whilst the handling leaves a little to be desired, it is by far a really good gun, even though it might seem sluggish. Once you're using it right and you know how to get it set up, that really isn't an issue. The rate of fire is pretty standard for an assault rifle, 650 rounds per minute, with a 30+1 ammo capacity by standard, but easily expanded with the range of magazines you can get. With the single fire, burst and full auto mode, it's a heck of a weapon. And in the right hands, this Kalashnikov really does know how to bite like a dog. So we're going to take a look at the barrels first. And in this gun, I have it very, very similar to the S-Bar setup. We have a suppressor, and that just gives you the option to approach the enemy silently. I don't use it too often because I prefer to play very aggressive with this gun, but it gives you that option if you're outnumbered to pick them off. The large barrel is a godsend, especially when paired with other attachments within this gun, because it gives you more options at range. And we've gone for the champion compensator for the simple reason that it's just by far the best compensator for this gun. These attachments, when used right, will completely determine the style of play you use, because obviously you're losing fire rate with the large barrel and you're gaining recoil, but it's great when you're using it at those mid to longer ranges. You can't go wrong with that muzzle brake, and the suppressor just gives you tactical positioning options. So bear that in mind with how you choose to use the gun, and play it your style. See what's best, but I feel that this gives the best range of uses for this gun. So yeah, don't knock it till you try it, guys. So we'll take a look at the sights, and these sights are the ones that I personally use. I've seen a lot of people favouring the red dot, so feel free to maybe swap out the 1.5 times scope for that, but I'll explain why I've personally chosen these as my meta setup for this gun. We'll start with the Maul sight, which I'm sure is named after Darth Maul in tribute to the dual blade he wields, and just like that dual blade, this is a dual sight. You've got a 1.5 times optic on the top and a 3 times ACOG on the bottom. Now this is really useful because it's an aggressive class. You might easily be going from outdoors to indoors or vice versa at a moment's notice. So this gives you those options, because all you have to do is hit your melee keybind and it's going to flip the sight. Downside is you can't do that whilst aiming down sights if someone comes up close and personal and invades your personal space. It's going to cover you from anything from close quarters to mid-range. Anything that you can't handle with the 3 times scope can be handled with the 6 times. Now if you remember my SCAR, well S-Bar or SCAR setup, you'll remember that I said I wasn't overly keen on the 6 times scope, but this relies less on stealth. If you're planning on running it more stealthily, please feel free to swap it out. The 6 times scope is there because I feel that this gun is pretty solid at range once you get used to the bullet drop. So yeah, it's great. The only downside is that you are highly visible through the scope glint when aiming down sights, so try and pick your targets before you try and pick them off. We also have another 1.5 times scope, which is my personal favourite scope, to be honest, so I've got a feeling this will be on a few other classes. But the reason I've got two 1.5 scopes on is because it is far quicker handling. The downside to our first scope, the Maul, is that it increases your ADS time. So not too great considering that it's a close quarters optic. However, it does lack on the range aspect in a pinch. But if you know that your combat's going to be confined to within a building, and obviously in that sense it's going to be close range, it is definitely the best option. So it covers all ranges, these sights and scopes, but I do feel that having two 1.5 scopes on this will pay off in the end. So I think it's time we address the elephant in the room really. Why do I have two different standard issue magazines on this build? Well, they have the same stats but differ on the reload time. So you've got a 30 round magazine that reloads noticeably quicker than a 40 round, and that's why I've got this on. Obviously this gun is very aggressive and you'll probably find yourself in close quarters combat quite regularly, so it just gives you the option to reload that bit quicker when needed. However, the 40 capacity rounds give you more time to infight, so I've not actually looked at how long you spend in combat and stuff and how it will affect the true rounds per minute, but with the 40 magazine I prefer it because particularly when you're picking off a couple of targets at range and you're missing a few shots, it lets you stay in that fight before you have to look for cover. And if you're out in the open and having to get a clear shot, then having to reposition somewhere safer to reload, it reduces the amount of times you're going to have to do that in that same firefight. We also have high power rounds, and that is to be paired with the 6x scope, the bipod and the large barrel to increase your long range capabilities. Now, the only thing I would say is you are more than welcome to swap one of the standard issue rounds out for armor piercing if you prefer, because it does become a bit of a tank killer this, but I wouldn't really say that should be your main concern. I'm also guessing that you guys are like, oh, why aren't you using the drum magazine? You get 10 more rounds with the drum magazine. But guys, that thing just takes so long to reload that it just isn't worth it. So yeah, just go for the high capacity rounds on the drum magazine. So, last but certainly not least, we are taking a look at the underbarrel attachments. These are what serve as the foundation for this entire build, and it's what gives the gun its characteristics and its utility. Let's take a look at the lightweight grip first, the LWG, and the reason I've chosen this for this gun is because of its aggressive nature. It's probably my favourite underbarrel for these reasons, okay? It gives you an accuracy bonus whilst you're static, but unlike most of the others, it doesn't penalise you for using it whilst you're moving. Most underbarrel attachments give you a trade-off between your accuracy whilst moving and static. If you use them for the wrong bit, you get penalised, not this. So from a static position, you can absolutely nail targets, but even if you're using it in moving engagements such as maybe CQB, you will be absolutely fine. Now, we also have the bipod. The bipod is there mostly to steady your aim when you're using the longer range capabilities that are also enabled by the large barrel, 6x scope and the high power rounds. It essentially turns it into a pretty decent marksman rifle, and if you're landing your shots it's quite punishing. Obviously if you're switching to semi-auto for that, you're not running into trouble just being enemies. So once you get used to how it plays out at longer ranges, that bipod definitely helps. The last underbarrel attachment we have is the underbarrel shotgun, and this thing slaps. I would use this as a prime in its own right. I am not a fan of the shotguns in this game, and I've got to admit somehow the underbarrel shotgun surpasses it. It's got a massive wide range, it's got quite a vicious spread really, so it lacks in terms of range compared to the other shotguns, but you don't need to worry about that. It's attached to a 7.62 rifle. It's so good for room clearance. It shreds enemies, to be honest. It's got a 6 round capacity, and I just love this thing. It absolutely slaps. So can't fault it really. It means that you can rush in and take targets, and if you're using it well, you can easily switch back and forth between the 7.62 rounds and the underbarrel shotgun to pick off the targets at the right range. It's capable of one-shot kills, but at most points it's going to be 2 shots. But with a rapid cycling rate, there is absolutely no issue with having to take 2 shots. But yeah, guys, those give it the foundation for each style of play, regardless of whether you want to rush in and become some form of anchor, or even use it more aggressively in close combat by shredding them with a 12 gauge shotgun, or set a distance and help your buddies approach. The underbarrels are what make this gun this gun. So guys, the last thing we're going to do is take a look at the class that I've built it into. So it's there with the G57, which is a really solid pistol. We've got the C5 explosive because why not level tanks, and a smoke grenade to cover you on the approach. This means that compared to maybe the more aggressive demolitions class that I've got the S-Fire on, you still have some utility that you lose from not having that integral underbarrel launcher. The smoke in particular comes in handy when trying to fulfill more supportive roles or closer distance, so you can use that C5 explosive to level a tank. It provides some level of comfort when trying to change and break away from engagements, all in all. So yeah, even though you don't have a throwable explosive, the C5 will probably cover you if you need to try and clear a room or soften up targets. And actually throw a C5 into a room and go in with your shotgun after it, you won't just get it. Because it's such an aggressive gun, you're going to want to play on the aggressive side and make the most of it. This thing is brutal, so don't be afraid to rush around and take the shots, particularly because you're not penalised for hitting targets whilst moving, but it's so accurate while standing you can pick off targets. So be mobile, don't stay in one place for too long. It definitely helps when enemies have air support as well, because you can move. The thing's accurate enough to shoot from the hip, just in case you're having to change combat and you can't change that sight. So yeah, this thing slaps. It was my go-to class for a long time until I leveled up the scar to the point where I felt it was a good gun until I got those higher capacity magazines. So yeah, I'm in love. I mean, you can tell by the fact that I've got it to mastery level 20 and I'm only a casual gamer that it was my go-to weapon. So yeah, this class will sort you out, and it just takes a bit of time to learn the gun, but it's absolutely smashing. But yeah guys, thanks for tuning into this video. This has been Lieutenant Nutcase, bringing you the second installment of Black and Wednesday. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please drop a like on this video, drop a subscribe, and I'll see you next time.